Hello, everybody. Today, Dave and I will be discussing
2 of the food commandments.
of the 15. Which one are we going to start with?
I think we should start with number 1. Thou shalt not consume soy unless it has been organic and fermented.
Fermented is slightly similar to fermented. So what you want to do is make sure that it's been converted. We discussed this before. When you convert a food, you make the food deliver its nutrition and its nutrients to you. When you don't convert a food, wow, speech impediment there, you got problems. And soy is one of those foods where, hey, it's lasted the test of time, but is a crop that should not be subsidized. And really, it's a food item that people have to realize is gosh darn dangerous at times.
Well, why are they putting it in basically everything?
It's the super filler. It is the paste that makes foods solid. And it's, it's something that's going to fill up the box. And you're not going to have substance, but they're going to claim that it's a food item.
Ah,
so when you
very
think
interesting.
So when you think about soy, like if you just went into a soybean field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll talk 2 things about soybean fields. Number 1, soybean is planted after nothing else can grow there. So it's the last ditch crop that a farmer is going to throw into his field before he's going to leave his field alone for many, many years to replenish itself, to regenerate itself. And soy, for most farmers, soy is considered a garbage crop.
So no nutrients, really.
Very little nutrients. And if you have nutrients, again, that's where you need to ferment it. Yes, you can make it into other food products, such as like tofu, and tofu is kind of fermented and kind of not fermented. It really depends what country it's being made in. And in the States, we think of soy milk, we think of soy this, soy that. And soy itself has a lot of problems because it messes with your hormones, which can change your mood. It is not a replacement for meat at all. Even the Japanese who eat more soy than others, because that's the people who really, really have used soy throughout the centuries, it's more of a condiment than it is a main dish.
So you're basically okay with soy sauce as long as it's fermented.
Well, but again, we're dealing with soy sauce, which is not traditional Japanese, versus tamari, which is traditional Japanese. So soy sauce uses wheat along with soy. So they fermented the 2. Now, the Japanese have had wheat, and they were the first to have a hybridized crop of wheat. And especially post-World War II, they've developed the crops that were the same height so you could use the same farming equipment. That way, in the past, a lot of your wheats were different heights. For them, they wanted everything to be consistent so that your machinery that harvests the wheat could be specialized just to handle that height of a crop. But otherwise, soy itself, so number 1, we talked about the crop. It's a bad crop. It does absolutely nothing for the earth. It has no benefit. It has no nutrition. And then number 2, if you walk into a crop of soybean and you start to eat it, after maybe about a pound or so, you're going to pass out or potentially die or start vomiting your brains out because soy itself is pretty toxic to a human unless we cook it, unless we convert it. So even steaming it, boiling it, doing something to change it a little bit will make it kind of digestible, but it's not something that you really want to eat because it plays with your hormones, as we said, and it can really cause havoc with your thyroid.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so you think about the people who do a lot of soy, they're more likely to have goiters and other type of thyroid issues. I don't know. I never really found a big old goiter hanging on somebody's throat to be attractive.
No, that's not a great thing to have.
No. And it comes with other health issues too. So the soy, when you ferment it, just like we talked about corn on another show, you're changing the nutritional profile. And that's where you get into tempeh. And when you get into like tamari sauce, tamari is what you would consider really soy sauce, or what a lot of companies label liquid aminos, because it's a completely converted food product. So surprisingly, some companies will say, hey, there's no soy in this, but it's derived from soy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's kind of like changing the terminology because the food product itself has been changed.
Yeah, but it's in everything. It's in cereals. Just look at it in your ingredients in a grocery store. Soy's everywhere.
It is, and by law, which this law has to change, it's in all baby food. And you've probably heard the term soy boys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And what is a soy boy? When a baby male is given soy in their formula. That's why the market for the European non-soy baby formulas is so hot, is who really wants to have a soy boy? It's going to make them have screwed up hormones. So when we spoke about transgenderism and sexuality and beta males and alpha males and not being a male at all, that goes back to all the environmental factors. Since food is the biggest environmental factor you can change, I just don't understand why anyone would feed a child soy at all, ever.
So it basically comes down to diet from birth and so you're well in your senior years. Avoid soy products as much as you can.
And you kind of hit it on the head there. To start your life with soy is a terrible, terrible thing. To go through your adolescence and then to your teens when you're going through hormonal changes,
Sure.
it's a terrible thing. It's an endocrine disruptor. It's something that is going to potentially hurt you, but be very insidious. And then the medical system is not going to say, oh, you should not eat soy. Some medical doctors promote it. Historically, in the Japanese and Chinese cultures, soy was used to help balance hormones. They would dose it accordingly so that it could help you and not get in the way. When you get older, soy can drive cancer. So when you're elderly, why would you want to eat any soy? Oh, and by the way, it does cause heart disease. Just as canola oil causes heart disease, and that's another story about canola.
Oh, yes.
Canola oil, now that was a traditional food item. Canola oil was always red. It was never white. And now canola oil, of course, has been named because it's Canada oil. And that's where they primarily grow it. And they use a golden canola. But it was used in very small doses because of its incredible flavor. It goes rancid right away. So what they would do is grind it, press it, and use that oil in a very short amount of time. So they had a very small bottle of this. It almost looked like a tincture. And you'd add it, but first you had to add it to, do you know what? A saturated fat. They would add it to coconut oil because traditionally that's the type of fat they had. But if they had some lard or if they had tallow or something like that, they would use another heavy fat. Because the one thing about even a fat like that, which could cause heart problems, if you combine it with a saturated fat, somehow they convert each other and make it where it is healthier for you. With soy, we don't really know if that happens. We really don't. But we do know that if you cook, I'm going to jump gears a little bit, with like olive oil, and you utilize a saturated fat with olive oil, you increase the flash point, meaning it's not going to burn, so you can have a little bit higher heat. Olive oil is still, it's a plant-based oil.
Right.
And any plant-based oil can create issues, but when you combine it with a saturated fat, such as butter, tallow, coconut oil, it has more health benefits. For most individuals, people always ask, what's a healthy fat? Well, those two oils come together, they're fantastic fats.
What do you think about avocado oil?
That we start getting into, where the heck does it come from? When you think about it, where does the oil come from? What do you think?
Mexico?
Sure, it comes from South America. California, Texas, Florida. But the thing, what we're looking at here is they're going to take the pit. They're going to take a waste product, typically what was thrown out. And they found out that if you treat it, and there's different ways to treat it, I guess you'd say coerce the oil out of it. So if you look at pits, olive is a pit. It's just a much smaller pit. You have fresh pressed, right? Or cold pressed because you don't want to denature the oil. But then you also have mechanically derived, where they use different types of chemicals to get the oil out of the pits. And that can be whole pits, but a lot of times it's a scrap left over because they don't want to throw anything out. That's the same thing that's happened with soybean and soybean oil. So there's a market, I guess you'd say, it all comes back to agriculture and it comes back to feeding animals. So animals do not like to eat soy when it has its fat. And that oil goes rancid very, very fast. So what they found is if they extracted the oil out of the soybean, this is no joke, then the animals would eat the soy in their feed. And then they had this leftover oil. That's where the soybean oil company came from, is because it's leftover waste from the feed industry.
Hey, let's sell this.
So many foods that are out there are like that. So for yourself to be healthy when you're looking at soybean oil, if you're going to do it, it's one of these things where it still has a nutritional profile. If you want to use it, because a lot of people make mayo with it versus avocado oil or something else like that, which also is a good oil to make mayonnaise with.
Sure.
You're again looking for at least a clean product. You're looking for an organic soybean. But overall, In small doses, you can get away with it, but it's not this oil that you should be putting on everything because it is inflammatory and it does have some health problems. I keep on going back and forth. This is like a tennis match.
Sure.
It's how they produce it. If you take a look at a lot of other foods, say, for example, peanuts. Peanuts, if you get them out of the ground, they don't have a lot of alpha toxins. They get more alpha toxins the longer they sit. And they sit in these warehouses and they mold because of moisture. They're not in a controlled environment. And so alpha toxins form because alpha toxins are from mold. Otherwise, peanuts have a lot of vitamin K. So people always say, where can I get vitamin K from? And that's where some of the elderly are a little concerned because if they eat peanuts, it can screw up their heart medications if they're on any of those because it can cause them to have clotting issues. But for a normal consumer, if you can get a good peanut, you are getting good nutrition into your body. Now, a soybean, it is a hearty food. It's been around for a long time, and that's where the cultures that utilize it do ferment it, and they make it into a lot of different things. And pretty much every crop that you have can be made into food for livestock because you can add flavor enhancers. And if you do that, you could convince them to eat cardboard or parts of a door if you'd grind it up. It really doesn't matter because you can fool their brain. Otherwise, what you're looking at doing is just making sure that when you're getting a product, that it's a clean product. Right now, you'll get cups, buy a plastic cup, and it's made with soy. It's made with corn. It's made with other plant material. The problem, though, you can take soy and make it into anything, just like you can make corn into anything. But the second it gets hot, the second the sun hits it, it can actually then create health issues for you because it's part of one of those environmental stressors. So, hey, yeah, it's great. We're using some plant to make a cup, so it's biodegradable and all this. You have to realize, you should realize, that now can contribute to some of your poor health. When you're looking at soy, if you're going to eat it and say you're a vegetarian, you might want to be looking into other legumes, which would be a much better source of protein and carbohydrate for you. And once you ferment those or you sprout them, you're going to have a superior product over any soy product. That is, again, unless you really want to have something that's going to last the next 200-300 years, which that's soy for you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, isn't it great? Okay, what else do we got here?
Number 2, thou shalt eat 25 to 50% of your foods raw. That kind of works right in what we were just talking about pretty good.
It really does. And if you live in an area where it's cold, it's kind of hard to eat raw foods in the winter unless you are able to store them. And that's where a lot of times we had the different, what are they called again? In the old times, they put their food out in the back.
Root cellar.
That's right. They'd have them in the root cellar. So with a root cellar, you were able to have vegetables pretty much all winter into spring. They knew how to store them. Like carrots were stored in sand and they would be cold at a certain temperature. It'd be kind of around that frost line because you don't want them to freeze. Otherwise, they're just gone. People would kind of make a mound and put a door onto it and dig a hole. It was kind of interesting, pretty straightforward, and it worked. The way our world has changed right now, you can go any time of the year and get raw vegetables. I do not recommend that. I think it's a waste. When you think about a green footprint, holy kitty cats, man. You want something coming from Mexico up to Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois. That's just ridiculous. So you're like, oh, I need a salad. It's middle of December. You got rutabagas, you've got kohlrabi, you've got all these really weather-resistant root cellar type vegetables that have so much moisture. And that's one thing that the natives of the Americas knew about, is that they had these hardy vegetables that they could they could actually literally make their own root cellars, keep them in the ground, and any time of the year, pull them out and eat them. The special thing about them is that they're loaded with nutrition and moisture that would make them healthy throughout the year. So when you're eating something raw, you're looking at not only fruits and vegetables, and think about fruits. How many berry trees exist in December in the tundra?
Safe to say none.
Exactly. And they don't store. You eat them when they come up. I can remember walking through raspberry bushes and gooseberries and everything, just nibble them up, or wild strawberries as you're walking down the fire lane or something like that. And they're fantastic. But they're not meant to be with us every year. Plus, I don't know if you guys have seen this. And yeah, I promote organic and biodynamic farming. The big companies are always looking at ways of screwing over the consumer and making more money. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a very large producer who brings food to the Midwest in the winter, such as strawberries and blueberries and raspberries. And they grow a lot of their organic roots in pots, not even in the ground. And that's still considered organic. So it's a field of pots that hold a plant. I guess you could call that organic, but it's also kind of sneaky because each one of those pots does have a line that goes to it. Is it hydroponic
Right.
organic farming or what? And again, there's different companies that are going to stretch the laws so they can make more money. For us, biologically, we want to eat raw. If we don't eat raw, we don't generate the enzymes to digest our food. If you have digestive issues, it could be because you don't have enough active enzymes. You don't have the right amount of acid in your body. Now goes beyond fruits and vegetables. This goes into meats. Humans are hunter-gatherers. I don't care how much people say we're farmers. And that does mean that when we kill something, we should be eating part of it raw. Luckily for everybody here, if you freeze meat, this is according to the USDA, for 2 weeks, this is beef, and you pull it out, all the bad stuff, parasites, whatever, are supposed to be gone so you can consume it raw. I would recommend salt and pepper, maybe a little spice, maybe some thinly sliced onion or something like that, which is fantastic.
Little rye bread.
Exactly, a little rye bread, you're good to go. You get yourself a carnivore sandwich. And the great thing about raw meat is its nutritional profile is completely different than when it's cooked. Because when it's cooked, it has less nutrition. Of course, we're talking organs too, and most Americans are 100% opposed to organs because we've been weaned away from them. We've been scared away from them. We've been told that organs are unhealthy for us. If you eat organs, it's going to cause heart disease. No, it doesn't cause heart disease. It prevents it. Now, if you're eating a sick animal that's fed corn or soybean, it might have heart disease. Yeah, you are eating something that's going to be inflammatory in your body, and you're going to pay the price. But if you're eating a grass-fed heart, something like that, you're dealing with a completely different animal or a grass-fed liver. The animal itself is a lot healthier. So whenever we start dealing with food, you want to know where your food's coming from. That is so very important.
What you're trying to say is buy local.
Of course, always buy local.
Or farmers markets.
Farmers markets, know where your meat's coming from. It's interesting. I advocate for hunting. I think all people should hunt. If you can't hunt, you should go to the farm, meet the animal, respect the animal, understand what it is before it's on your table. Because there's people...
And know what they're eating.
And know what they're eating. You think about it, you go to a fast food restaurant, you'll see whole sandwiches thrown into the garbage. That was once an animal. That meant that there was no respect for that.
None whatsoever.
Even when you're at the grocery store, if you're purchasing things and there's no respect, you're tossing the meat down the aisle or down the conveyor belt. Be grateful, be respectful. An animal lost its life to give you nutrition. I attempted to be a vegetarian at one time in my life. It was not really good because I craved meat every day. So I lasted a year and a day, and then I ate as much meat as I could after that because I was weak.
Welcome back.
It was so beautiful. It was great. Well, you got to remember this was back in the late 80s. I attempted everything and wow, textured vegetable protein, which is soy. So anyway, when we're talking about food, you want to be eating something raw, and that does include meat. Now, I hate to tell you this, folks. In America, yes, we got clean food compared to the rest of the world. However, when you do go out for sushi, that is the number one way for you to get a tapeworm in America.
I don't have to worry about that.
You like your fish cooked. Again, just like any other creature, the cleaner it is, the cleaner the body of water, the cleaner it's going to be. And you can tell, I don't know about taking a trip up to Canada, filleting a walleye or whatever, and you're like, whoa, there's bugs. You can cook that and it's going to be healthy. Man, I don't even want to cook that stuff. It's just like you'll be picking those parasites out for the next 2 years, 3 years. And a lot of those parasites are heat resistant.
Really?
Yeah. So the FDA, USDA, and all that.
Thanks for ruining my trip, Doc.
I only had one issue when we were up in Canada. We had caught some beautiful jumbo perch that would look like walleyes in a lot of other states. And sadly, they were riddled with parasites. You cut them open and it looked as if they were a poppy seed muffin.
Ooh.
It was very disheartening, let me tell you. Again, I don't care what animal it is. If you're taking its life, it's really sad. Now for us, I'm going to do a little joke here, but it's dead serious. So we're cutting these fish. I'm like, we're not going to eat these. And my uncle and my dad were there and they're like, what do you want to do with these? Long story short is where we were camping, there were some people from Illinois. They came over and they're like, whoa, jumbo perch. It's like, would you like these? They took the whole cooler full, filleted those suckers up. We were dining all night.
Remind me to never take you fishing.
What are you talking about? Honestly, what you should have done is caught one, filleted it, seen all the parasites and moved on.
So you're not eating anything, say, that came from a farm?
What do you mean, fish-wise?
Yeah, fish-wise.
Oh, I wouldn't. Honestly, I would not buy a fish that tackled a corn stalk to get its meal ever. And that's what they do. They mix corn, soy, and some fish byproduct, which you know what byproduct is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. That's usually the guts, the tails, the fins, everything that the fish really doesn't want to eat. That's what they do. And then they add a couple flavor enhancers. And if you're in China, that's your fake fish that they're feeding you is soy, corn.
Yeah,
and,
the imitation crab meat.
Well, even that imitation.
That's probably the most vile thing you could possibly put in your body.
But for some of that, that's even more real than some of the fake fish that comes across. So when you're at the grocer and you see that sale on the salmon, it's $4 a pound or whatever, you got to question who benefits from $4 a pound salmon when the good salmon's going for a double, triple that.
Sure.
You'll find that mostly that's coming from a country that I would not be buying it from. If you live in America, if you live over in Europe, buy from your own country or buy from a neighboring country that you trust. Don't buy food that comes across from thousands of miles and you have absolutely no clue where it came from.
That's a good point, because I was going to bring this up. I don't know how you feel about this, but I know the way I feel is I will not eat anything that comes from a shell. Shrimp, lobster, anything like that. Now, people have stuff flown in from Maine, and they're having lobster from Maine. What do you tell the folks in California that are having lobster from Maine?
The thing is crustaceans, people call them cockroaches of the sea. There's fish that are kind of cockroaches of the water too.
Bottom feeders.
Bottom feeders. And so when you deal with it, they're also aggressive, but they're eating a lot of meat. They do eat a lot of plankton and small things.
Sure.
They can be clean, but where are they coming from? That's again, if you're getting it farm fed, you're probably getting a crustacean that's been fed garbage.
Sure.
If it's coming from other parts of the world, I hate to tell you this, but it's poop shrimp. I'm serious. They empty out porta-johns and all this other vile places and they dump it into these ponds where the shrimp are being raised, mixed in with other types of waste products. Again, never buy from another country if you're dealing with it. And so when it comes to crustaceans, this is another issue that we're just going to touch on.
Just a touch.
Just a touch. So if I'm going to buy crustacean, say shrimp, I buy it from the Gulf of America because I trust it. However, is it water and shrimp? Or what else is there? Because you've got some nasty chemicals that cause kidney disease, but it's considered parts per million, so it's safe enough, according to the FDA, which I do not buy at all. Okay. I've returned it, I've purchased it, and it's really dangerous stuff. So if you suffer from drinking wine headaches, eating your crustaceans could cause the same issue because the chemical that they're preserving it with.
Sulfites?
It is a form of a sulfite. Whenever you're dealing with it, it should say shrimp, salt, water. Or shrimp salt. That's it. You don't want to have any other names that belong in a chemistry book in your food. I don't care what it is. If it's a fish, if it's a shrimp, if it's a lobster. If you're going to be purchasing lobsters, of course, we've got Maine lobsters, which is so crazy is people used to consider lobster garbage.
They fed it to prisoners.
They fed it to prisoners. It would be served on trains. People wouldn't eat it. People would sign their contracts for their employers of the big wealthy homes on the East Coast, and it would say on there, will not eat lobster or be fed lobster. Going back to the trains, we said it was fed on trains. They're the ones who actually turned it into this luxury item. Plus, if you live in the middle of the country, anything that comes out of the ocean sounds fantastic. Now, what is sad, though, is they have to put out cages for them, but the lobsters are so plentiful that they'd be walking all over the shore. They just walk out and pick them up and fill up a bucket. It's a lack of respect for nature and the waste. I hate to touch on waste, but I'm going to touch on waste for a second. And this all circles back to life as a whole. When you think about how much meat is frozen, we're just going to go with meat first.
Okay.
We get a cow. We get a half a cow every year. Maybe sometimes we get a half a cow plus a quarter cow because we're huge meat eaters. I know when that cow was slaughtered. I know what cycle of the feed, was it at the end of summer? Was it at the beginning of summer? Is it part of the vitamin K profile higher than what you're going to get in the fall? Now, when you're dealing with meat, say you're at a big store and you're buying for a family, so you're getting these massive boxes, you're going to have this big party, right? What you might not know is that box has been frozen for 5 to 8 years.
That I did not know.
So you go to the store, you're going to get a turkey. It could have been frozen for 5 to 8 years also. So what that tells us is that we have enough reserve meat frozen for approximately 8 years. And now some of the meats, and this is the scary part, I've read, I've heard, I haven't validated this, but they're talking that we have enough frozen meat to feed the world for almost a dozen years. So when they talk about a lack of food, a lack of meat, and they want us to eat insects and all this other disgusting stuff, we probably have enough beef to feed the world for almost a dozen years. The same goes for pork, which right now in America, I'm kind of scared about pork.
So am I.
You think about it, China owns almost all the pork production in America.
60%.
And when you think about how much meat that is,
That's a lot of pigs.
that's a lot of pigs, and it's the same breed. They supply the babies and everything for the growers. And when that goes to their processing plants. They have a monopoly, and it's disgusting. We should never allow another country to own our food supply, specifically a communistic country. That just makes no sense. Why don't we have somebody who is not an ally control our food or control
our land?
Control our pharmaceuticals.
Exactly.
It's really ridiculous. We can keep on going with every food group here. We've got enough frozen chicken. And that's where it has the chemical bath. So when you read on that package, so much percentage of this and so much percentage of that, that's a preservative. It prevents it from freezer burn.
Is that a federal law for them to take that chicken and dip it?
There's different laws on what they do. So is it dipped or is it injected?
Ooh.
These chickens have no antibiotic, right? They'll claim that. But then they're fed antibiotics. So they're not injected but it's part of the feed. Or now, what's even worse is they have other chemicals that are even more harmful. So when you think of antibiotics, or they'll call it a preservative, whenever it's a preservative, it's an antibiotic. And it means it's killing your gut flora, which
Right.
then also kills your body flora. It's a full circle that our food has been sabotaged in many, many ways in the name of safety. So 8 years of beef, you got 8 years of pork, you got 8 years of chicken, you probably have 8 years of fish and whatever else. They'll say, well, the industry needs to survive. Well, what about Mother Nature? Does she need to survive? You think about fishing, for example, the fishing stress and everything else. They come in with these trawlers. It's not like a guy's there with a fishing pole and pulling it in.
Right.
They take everything and anything, and what they don't use may be made into a slurry and made into fish, that fish.
A bait.
Well, bait or one of those fish sticks. A lot of countries,
Ooh.
they love the fish stick and the fish balls. They just grind that stuff up. Otherwise, what they do, I hate to say it, there's an exit that goes right back into the water, and so they're just pushing the fish back into the water, but they're dead. They've been killed by the nets, killed by the pressure, killed by everything. It's not as if they're going back and it's 100% survival rate or 50 or 60. It's probably like 1 or 2% may live. And then we think about the sharks. And this is not about saving the planet. I'm not talking about this. I'm just talking about greed. Let's go back to the sharks for a second. You take a shark, and the thing is this. They've been around here a lot longer than we have. And in a very short amount of time, we've devastated them as a whole because they're in the way.
Yep.
And we look at them as nothing. And the big thing is they cut off the fins, they throw them back in the water, they suffocate in the water. If you're going to harvest anything, harvest the whole thing. Cut it up. Feed somebody somewhere in the world. Where we have our practice set up, there's turkeys all over the place. You've probably seen those suckers all over. And they're big ones. But what is disgusting is the community culls them. But what they do is they don't give them to a food bank because that would be totally inhumane. So they burn them. They just burn the carcasses, which to me is
That's
slap.
an incredible waste.
And of course, everyone's heard stories about hunters who are donating deer and whatever the game they get. This happened a few years ago. And as they're doing this, state came in and they bleached all the meat and then they threw it all into dumpsters. And they said, oh, this is violating health codes and all this other BS. When you look at that practicality wise, and so they had taken a life and now that life has been wasted. That leads into our topic for the day. And the topic for today, again, is when we take a look at the planet, who is the culprit when the public is blamed? So a lot of people don't realize, no matter who you are, no matter what industry, no matter what you do, the top 1% usually are the culprits who do the most harm, and some do good. But in the case of pollution, the top 1%, and this is the wealthiest companies in the world, do 70% of the pollution.
That's incredible.
Actually, it's even higher than that. The numbers kind of slips in my mind because when I was putting this all together, I want to say it was closer to like 76%. If anybody out there knows the exact number, stick it in the comments, just write a little bit there. But what it came down to overall is, so you took that top 1%. And when you look at the 1%, they've got their finger in every industry, in every country around the entire globe. So it's not about me and you and our car that is making the problem, because when it comes down to the populace, the people, we're way less than 10% of the problem. So when we take a look at manufacturing, when we take a look at convenience, who's to blame? It's not the public, or is it the public because we want things for cheap? We want things manufactured. The big thing is this: if you're ignorant on what they are doing, but all of a sudden you become aware, would you stop buying from them? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, here's an interesting thing. It was just approved recently that Bill Gates was able to put a, how can I say it, a preservative on now organic fruits and vegetables. What is he doing meddling in our food supply?
I honestly do not understand why he's not in jail.
I don't get it. He's not a scientist.
You're talking about appeal. And that,
yes, exactly.
Yes, and that product was pulled from Costco. I'll use their name because I'm proud that they did that. But it has not been pulled from some of the biggest supposedly organic grocery stores. If you really have a problem with it, let them know that, because they don't think it's an issue, even though appeal does have hydrogenated fat in it. So otherwise you're talking about, they would coat fruits and vegetables with wax, what we call food grade wax. But now you have hydrogenated fat, which causes heart disease, cancer. It also has heavy metals they found in it. So now you're talking heavy metal poisoning. Heavy metals are never good in the body if you ingest them, if you inject them, no matter what. Everything's poison and toxic to you. Whenever we're looking at the world, know where your money goes is what you support.
Exactly.
So if you think that the top 1% of the companies who acquire everybody that's good and then transforms them into bad is your buddy, is your partner, you got to think again. Since Maha has been going on, I see a lot of these companies acquiescing because they know the U.S. is going to be very similar to Europe really soon. Like, you go to Spain, you can't even get a cereal that has sugar in it.
Nope.
And so we have patients who go there to visit family, and they literally smuggle in Captain Crunch and, oh man, can I say that name? They smuggle in the sugary cereals, we'll put it that way. Maybe I might have to edit that out. So again, who's doing all the damage around here? It's not difficult to find out either. You can find things out, but you can't listen to the media, because the media is going to paint everybody who is willing to sell you out, and they really don't care about you. So if you want to have a healthy world around you, if you want your family to be healthy, you got to look into the mirror. Just don't put a towel up in front of it and look from the side, because you're going to freak out totally.
That still got me freaked out. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so yeah, we got something that we'll hit you with a little bit later. We'll just post that puppy up there so you can see it. It's the old magic trick where you cover up the mirror, and then you have somebody look from the side and they still can see you and see everything around. And supposedly it's because the mirror acts like a hologram, which I don't buy. It just proves the Matrix is real.
Oh, you're going there, aren't you?
Well, we're going to go there one day or another. Again, I just don't know how it fits. So besides that, just know that in order to become healthier, you have to be aware of what's going on around you. And awareness is one of those affirmations that you want for yourself. You want to become aware more and more every day. You want to know what's going on around your world more every day. You want to open your eyes. And if you see something that scares the crap out of you, step back for a little bit and then understand and find somebody who can help you deal with this. Got anything to add there, Dave?
No, that's about it. I think I'm good.
Okay, me too. So we're going to wrap it up. I'm Dr. Rich.
I'm Dave.
Until next time.